I'd love to talk to her. I'd love to have her on, and I'd love to have a nice 30, 45-minute interview with her, asking her about this, questioning this. Why did she say this? What's her motive as far as covering this team? And where did Cleveland Browns faithful, welcome back to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. I'm going to call this week for the Cleveland Browns the week of distractions from the ownership group, from the Haslams. Here's what I mean by that. We're going to get right into it. Just announced official, the team is from Fox 8 has learned the Cleveland Browns have decided to move the stadium from on the lakefront and build a dome in Brook Park. So this is official from Fox 8 News. We haven't heard anything from the Haslams, but from everything what I was hearing as well, this was kind of a done deal. They were just waiting to iron out some of the kinks and go from there. This just happened Thursday, October 17th. You are not tricking anyone. Jimmy and D, you are not, the fan base is not dumb. Please stop acting like we're dumb. It's one thing to make a mistake. It's one thing to make a wrong move, to have a general manager who gave out a bad contract, made a bad trade, whatever. That happens in pro sports. That's what we're here to talk about. Oh, was person X right? Was person Y right? Were they both wrong? Were they both right? That's fine. It's everything that's transpired from there that is bothersome to the people who call themselves fans of this Cleveland Browns franchise. Doubling down, tripling down, doing all these different things to say, hey, look over here. Don't look at the quarterback. Don't look at the offensive issues. Don't look at the team not having any chemistry, not having any will to win football games. Don't look at the 4-game losing streak. Throw all of that out. We're going to move the stadium. The newest stadium in sports, the newest stadium in pro football. Look over here at the shiny object. Don't look at our incompetence down here. We need you to look at everything else. Case in point number 2. Didn't even get a chance to do a solo video about this because I just wanted to wrap all of it up into one upload. Obviously, the Amari Cooper trade comes through. And yeah, we get a 3rd-round pick back for it. We could argue if it's a good trade for value, if it's a good trade for the situation we're in. I don't really care. I don't really care about talking about, the analytics and the deep dive of the trade. It doesn't matter to me. It does not matter. This is your white flag. This is a guy, an Amari Cooper, who had 1,000+ yards last season with backup journeyman quarterbacks. This is a guy who kind of had a holdout to start the year. It wasn't mandatory stuff. It was voluntary minicamp, but wasn't showing up, wanted a new contract, wanted an extension, whatever. Who made it work to come back. We gave him a raise, but eventually he comes back. He plays on the roster. He only gets to play 6 games. And then we trade him to Buffalo, a team in the AFC who's actually contending for a Super Bowl. And, we get draft pick assets out of it. Who else is on the chopping block is my follow-up question from that transaction. Are you fielding calls for Myles Garrett? Are you fielding calls for Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson, Elijah Moore? How deep does this, issue stem? And that's not even to mention all the pandering from the employees of the team, the Kevin Stefanskis and the Ken Dorseys, all saying, oh, well, Deshaun Watson gives us the best chance to win. We already covered that earlier in the week. Go check that video out if you missed it, reacting to Kevin Stefanski's press conference. But we all know that it's smoke and mirrors, it's nonsense, and it's largely a disservice to the fans. You have people on the payroll of the team giving you lip service. You have local media saying, oh, we think it's the right decision to do this, to move forward with Watson. And I'll play the clip of Mary Kay Cabot. I'll roll it up on the screen right here.
Hi, this is Mary Kay Cabot from Cleveland.com with some quick thoughts after the Browns' 2016 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. Their 4th straight loss to fall to 1-5. Who can believe it? But let's talk about Deshaun Watson for a second. I asked Kevin Stefanski after the game, are you still sticking with Deshaun? He said yes. I actually think this is the right decision. I know a lot of fans will not agree with me on that, but I think they need to ride this out. I think they need to find out exactly what they have in Deshaun Watson. Do they need to go in another direction, or can he play some functional football for them? In the second half of this game, he did get better. He completed 11 of 12 passes for 122 yards in the second half of this game. He did some good things, but there are so many things going wrong with this whole entire offense. It's hard to know if he's good or not. They need to stick with him to find out.
But it's like, going back to my original point, if you made a mistake, own up to it, move on, and go from there. There's a handful of people that thought the Watson trade was good for the franchise. There's a handful of people who thought it was a terrible move. This is sports. This is what happens when fans watch pro sports teams and when people like myself cover these teams. You're going to be right sometimes. You're going to be wrong. The honorable people stand up and say they were wrong. And the people who just want to run and hide from their mistakes, like the Haslams, if they go into these back rooms and don't say anything, we're going to make moves here. Barry's going to do this. We're going to move the stadium, and we're going to, have all this news to try to distract from the fact that we're 4 straight losses. We're one of the worst teams in the league. We're the laughing stock of the NFL, and the fans aren't buying it. We're not stupid. The fans of pro sports teams have never been more educated, in my opinion, over all the years of since inception of pro sports and people following them and people spending money on them and watching them week in and week out. We've never been more educated. You can't run from X. You can't run from YouTube. You can't run from people in the media who actually do their job. Just come out. If you're the Haslams, how much respect would the Haslams get if they said, emergency press conference, come up to the podium, we made a mistake with Deshaun Watson. We're going to pay him to stay away from the team, which I know is going to be a controversial take in its own right. You might as well play the guy if you're paying him. I get it. But you've admitted that you wasted a season, so it's kind of stupid anyway. However you slice it, it's kind of dumb. Hold an emergency press conference, say that you made a mistake with Watson, apologize to the fans, apologize to the people who spend their hard-earned money, showing up for this team for home games, season ticket holders, people who buy merchandise and gear and line the Haslam's pockets. Come out, say you were wrong, say we're going to play Winston, say we're going to play DTR, reinvigorate the locker room, reinvigorate the fan base, and move on from there. And then you can do all your announcements. Oh yeah, to make it up with to make it up to you, we're going to foot the whole bill for this stadium. They probably won't do that. In my opinion, they'll probably ask for taxpayer monies, whatever. Say, hey, this is how we're going to make it up to you moving forward, and just overall admit that you've made a mistake. You would gain so much respect from the fan base. You would gain so much of it back. You're not going to gain an additional level of respect, but the trust from Cleveland Browns fans in the ownership group, the general manager class, the coaching staff, and the media, the legacy media who has covered this team. The radio stations, the people that are on payroll for all these different organizations, not the independent guys. I'm not saying that. The trust is like this low for everybody I just named, from the owner all the way to people covering the team saying, oh yeah, Watson's the best, course of action we have moving forward. Give me a break with that nonsense. We're trying to be a transparent entity in our own independent space, covering the Browns here and the Cavs at the Cleveland Pulse. We appreciate every single one of you for being here. I appreciate the likes. I appreciate the comments, voicing your grievances down below. Keep that up. Make sure you're subscribed. And I want people to see this. You don't think that, I come on here and, you're saying bad stuff about this. They're never going to see it. I wish they would. I wish the Haslams would see me bitching. I wish Mary Kay would see me complaining. I'd love to talk to her. I'd love to have her on, and I'd love to have a nice 30, 45-minute interview with her, asking her about this, questioning this. Why did she say this? What's her motive as far as covering this team? And where does she think the Browns go from here? She's from Northeast Ohio. She grew up in the area. She's an analyst, and she does her job first, but she's a fan. She's also a fan of the team. I know she is. So at the end of the day, let's boil it down to the common denominator, recognize we're all fans, recognize we deserve at least a minimum respect, and stop doing us a disservice by trying to, bait and switch and do all these smoke and mirrors to avoid from the fact the football team sucks and the organization is disorganized. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. Appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you being the pulse of it all. Peace.